to drink coffee. Oh,
Mhm.
yes, and of course, talk about voiceover.
Always.
So it is always good to see everyone. If you are brand new, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button
Yeah,
and hit that bell notification. Gabby and I like
for
to
sure.
see your pretty faces or texts or whatever it is. Also, please, speaking of comments and chats, type hello, tell us where you're from in the chat, and ask questions. We
Yes.
love questions. A quick reminder, Gabby, we are going to be, well, not together, sadly, although we need to at some point. But 4th of July is Friday, so
I
we won't be
know.
having any live on Friday. But don't you fear, we will be back on Monday. You can't get rid of us that easy.
Nope.
So, but I just wanted to remind everybody that we'll be out celebrating. I'm actually going. Hey, you know what? I'm actually going down to North Carolina, Gabby, to the Outer Banks because where my
Oh,
aunt lives. So,
okay. Well,
um,
I would say I would come see you, but that's like 5 hours
I
from me.
know, I know, it's on the other side of the
Yeah,
state.
it's
Uh,
and there's no easy way to get to the Outer Banks. Like it's a haul.
it
I
is
could
a
get to
haul.
DC faster than I could get to the Outer Banks. It's crazy.
That is crazy. And I
Yeah,
know, like, you, unless you go through, because you have to go through every major metropolitan area basically in North Carolina in order to
more or
get
less.
there if you go through the
Hmm.
main roads. Yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy. And those stretch of roads in between are nightmares.
Yes.
So, any Hoosers, but we just wanted to let you all know that. All right. Now, today, we are talking about localization.
Hmm.
So, what is localization, you might ask? Localization is an effort to find, if we're going to talk about maybe from a casting director's perspective, talent, voice talent, who are really local to an area that we might be trying to promote in or trying to find. Or trying to get a voiceover to sound like the people in that area. So, if, for example, I live in southeastern Virginia, and if someone was doing a spot that they wanted to target maybe even locally in southeastern Virginia or where I am, they might be like, okay, well, we want to find, for lack of a better word, a local.
Hmm.
Someone in that area that has that same accent, that same jargon from the area, the same speech patterns, so that it matches up and it connects with people from that area. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the important thing to note when it comes to localization is that not every language is the same
Mm,
everywhere it's spoken.
mm,
So, English is a great example.
mhm.
The English that we speak here is not the same as the English in the UK or in
Oh
South
no. Oh
Africa
Lord, no.
or, yeah, in other places. And so that's a big component of localization, right? The French that is spoken in Canada is totally different from the French in France.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Portuguese, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Spanish.
Spanish.
Holy crap. With
Yes.
Spanish, it's wild.
Yes.
And not only do you have these differences of the languages and the dialects, but there's cultural differences that
Mm-hmm.
come with them as well. And that is why localization is big business. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen countless times where, especially in the Spanish market, a company that is considered to be right a Latin or a Spanish company is creating a product or introducing their product to what for them is a new market, and they realize they have to completely recraft and change
Mm-hmm.
everything about their marketing strategy, the language, the campaign, like just all of it, because the new audience will not receive it the same way the original one did. So, like in South America alone,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
wild, wild how
Mm-hmm.
one company, one product can have to effectively um, customize
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
each individual area. And so voiceover is a big component of that. We play a really crucial role in bringing authenticity to that process. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we there's also what these companies will do is they will, sure, I'll use the word commission.
Mhm, mhm,
What
mhm.
they'll commission a another company, a casting company, and to say, hey, listen, we want to target. Well, we'll use South America. We
Sure.
want to target all of South America,
Mm,
and with this product that we're releasing. So we come to you. We need you to find localized talent in these various markets
yeah.
throughout South America, and it might end up being hundreds of different voice actors. All right, and these are massive. The companies. So if you don't know about this or have heard it, this happens often. Companies are doing this. They're spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars,
Huge money.
right?
Huge.
To do this and to hire all these different voice actors throughout the world, localized to certain areas so that and that's just South America. Some will do a couple of continents, right?
Technically, technically, if you pick up your iPhone, right, and you access your Siri options,
Hmm.
don't start talking. Every time I say the name, right, I have to be careful. But if you
I'm
access,
listening to you, Gabby.
yeah, pretty much.
What
Um,
now?
Last night, oh my God, it was so funny. Tangent. Last night I was going to bed, and for some reason, Siri and Siri went, I don't sleep, but I am. And I was like, shut up.
Oh, I know. And sometimes this does it when you're not even like you
Yeah.
might say something similar. I want to
But
program it though to say things like, "What do you want?"
yeah.
or "Leave me
What?
bugger off."
But if you go into right your settings, you can see localization in action in
Mhm.
that, right? There's dozens of different voices to choose from, sometimes for the same exact language.
Mhm.
And it's wild, right? Because it's all you can on a surface level, you can see it as inclusivity, right? That's part of
Mhm.
localization, but it's a lot more than that. It really is about allowing an audience to
Mm.
feel like the company is connecting with them on a day-to-day and
Oh yeah.
personal level. Yeah.
I think
Mm,
so for here at I think for me, a perfect example is people in the Midwest or North part of Midwest. Like let's take Minnesota,
mm,
right, or something like that. And we have a couple different people in our VO Journey Academy
mm, mm.
from that area, and it's always I love I love to talk to them and hear about the different types of where they're from in the country, the different vocabulary
Mhm.
that they use. And we all from wherever we are, we also have different types of jargon from that area that's unique to that area, right? Are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I grew up in New York and we are the
Oh my goodness.
worst. We have words that don't exist anywhere else. I actually have a book in my car. I need to bring it inside. It's a book on the literal title of the book is I Can Tell Where You're From Based on What You Say. And so of course I had to buy it. And
Oh,
it's a
that's
map
funny.
of the United States and it's all the regionalisms and it's all the things that people say differently. So first thing that came to my head, right? We say stoop.
Ah,
You go sit on the stoop. And like other people in other
really?
country are like, what
That's
the hell is a
interesting.
stoop?
Well,
What do you
it does make sense
Yeah.
too because in certain, like in New York, right, you're gonna have stoops. I mean, like in that kind of right, like
But
there's certain.
I went down the etymology route, so it turns out the word stoop, stup, it's a Dutch word that
Ah,
somehow
here at the wall,
became
right, to hear.
yeah, it
Yeah,
became
from the
part
Dutch
of
settlers.
the vernacular from settlers
Mm.
and it just stuck and people still say it. Like I'm gonna go sit out front on the stoop and other people are like, what the heck is a
It would be
stoop?
really interesting, and I need to look at it because, of course, I didn't even think anything about it, but I love history until I actually I saw, Leonardo DiCaprio and what's his name in Gangs of New York. But then
Ooh,
to
yeah.
look at like the history of New York from where it is now, you would never, I
Mhm.
mean, the names are there still. I mean, like the history
Mhm.
is hidden in the names of the
Mhm. It
streets and
is.
stuff, but
It is.
you would not know. And then even going back, right, if we look at, I know they're fictional movies, right, but with Disney and what's his name in the treasure movies, the what is it? You know what I'm talking about? The
I do. I
National
do.
Treasure, excuse me.
Yes.
So National
Yes,
Treasure.
yes,
So
yes.
stuff like those things. And the history of those certain areas is so fascinating to me about all that.
Where did you grow up?
So really in all over, but in this area where I live the most
Okay.
is in
Okay.
this area. So like big thing around this area, just funny little things. So some people will say Norfolk, and some
Yes.
of us will say Norfolk, right? Like an aw instead of an or. Okay. And there are a variety of different Newport News, so many different, depending on how long you've lived in a certain area too, that changes so much.
Mhm.
But Hampton, all these places around here, there's so many different ways to say things, and you can always kind of tell who's from the area originally and who's not from the area. Also, like a little nice little southern thing that we all know how to say is "bless their heart." Right, or bless his heart, right? We always say that, and so that's kind of like it encompasses a lot of like, oh, isn't that, or isn't that sweet, or oh, they're kind of a little kooky, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, there's all those little things, and I'm sure throughout the different right parts of the country, there's all sorts of things. By the way, Professor Tracy says she's from Minnesota, so that's cool. That book is so cool. Find a bubbler.
A bubbler.
What is a bubble? What is that?
A bubbler.
Like a
I'm
soda
pretty
pop?
sure I think a bubbler is a water fountain.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. If I remember right,
Yeah,
I think that's what that is.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, there's all kinds of little like yeah, there's so many intricacies that I
Mm,
think it is fascinating. It's fascinating from a historical standpoint. Yes, I love that stuff. I'm like
mhm.
I'm a dork when it comes to
I know.
history and
You
you
know,
know.
want to know something even crazier? And we're just on a tangent today. So I follow this woman on TikTok who is a rare book collector, and she runs this rare book store, right? Because I love books,
You're
and we do a
speaking
lot
my
of reviews,
language.
right? So,
Mwah.
anyways, and she's so I love her. I love her to death. Like I know this woman. I don't know her, but I follow her. So, anyways, she was showing a book today, and the book is called Black Friday, and it was the most interesting thing because in my naive, and this is super because I don't like to think of what none of us like think of ourselves
Hmm.
naive, but very naive. But anyways, the point I'm trying to bring up is that I thought the Great Depression or the stock market crash of the 20s was the real first big crash of the stock market, and it was not. So apparently, right? And I didn't even know this. So
Hmm.
Black Friday is actually one of the books that came out from the big stock market, one of the first big stock market crashes in the 1880s, right, which cast a huge shadow over Ulysses S. Grant's presidency because one of his cousins was one of the speculators, and they were speculating in gold, who apparently was causing all these problems. Now, you remember Ulysses S. Grant, he was not elected twice after, right, when Lincoln died or got assassinated, right?
Wow.
And, things, anyways, the point is, right, is that I didn't know anything about that, or because I love the stock market, or at least to the history of it, right? And so anyways, I thought that was real, just like interesting stuff about that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that
Yeah,
that
here
even
I
was
was
like
thinking
that.
it was just a sale after Thanksgiving. I don't I
You
don't
gonna say
know.
Black Friday? That's an interesting, yeah. I mean, and who knows how that came, but and you see these things, and apparently what they did was these people from the time wrote a bunch of
Huh.
stories like historical fictions about the time, and it caused even more panic, right? Because they're dramatized, right? The people at the time wrote these books
Well,
about,
yeah.
Mrs. Such and Such is asking where's my money, and the guy says, well, it's in this stock right here or whatever. It just says, but that's worth nothing. And like they wrote all this stuff down in books from that time period. And I'm like, wow. So I was like looking at trying to find it, and it's only in like paper. Like, so some of this stuff, it's not digitized still. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
these books,
right.
right? And anyways, so so what does that have to do with voiceover? I don't know,
Wild. Well,
but I do find that actors. I've always find, at least I like to think so. right? You know, if you
Amazon too.
really dive into our craft, right, you learn a lot and you become very knowledgeable about history and
But
about
I'm gonna tell you, but that's it. But there's more than this. So, okay. So on one hand, we're supposed to be speech and language experts. We are
hmm
supposed to be professional readers who, let's be honest, right? If you're a voice actor and you struggle with vocabulary,
it's hard.
you're going to
It's
have a
hard.
problem.
Yeah.
You're going to struggle here. We should be able to recognize and pronounce, and even if you've never seen a particular word before, knowing and understanding
Right.
how to break it down and how to find that etymology within it to
Yes.
be able to pronounce it correctly.
Yes.
But also, it is things like knowing what a bubbler is. It is things like being able to understand slangs, cultural references,
Yes.
regionalisms, even Old English sometimes. I
hmm
mean, come on, how many acting students have you encountered over your years that don't like Shakespeare or don't
Mm.
because they're like, I don't understand it. I can't read
Oh yeah.
this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So many. So many.
And that's
Right.
a problem.
It is a problem. It is a
Like,
problem. hmm
we have to be adaptable. We
hmm
have to be able, and I don't know about you, but I think, something I say to my voiceover students a lot is I go, if you don't understand the words, don't open your mouth
Mm. hmm
because you shouldn't be speaking them.
hmm
If you do not, I'm always pushing them to, like, the why. What's the why are you saying this? What is this exactly? And if you can't
Mm.
give me an intelligent explanation, that's not the script for you.
No, I love that. And I've always said the same thing. I mean, we are practitioners, we are professional communicators.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. And, you know, there is a level of knowledge that we need to have to come from a place of authority, right? And what we're saying, to have that confidence. Now, of course, there's always BS artists, and sometimes we have to play that role.
We do. We
All
do,
right.
for
But
sure.
I found that some of the most successful voice artists that I've known and had the privilege to meet, and I have you included in there, but is that they are super intelligent. They're
Oh,
readers. They're interested in things,
yeah.
right, and learning more things. And you know, I think that's important.
We are lifelong learners. We kind of have to be in this. I
hmm
don't, and I do think it's interesting because sometimes you meet actors from other disciplines and people think that they're comparing them, of course, to their characters,
Right.
and they think that they're dull or they're kind of boring. And you go, sometimes that's a sign of intelligence. Sometimes
hmm
that's a sign of,
hmm
really how much depth that person has. And,
Oh yeah.
no, don't expect them to be like their characters. That's kind of the whole point.
hmm
Um, it's not a fair criticism. It's not a fair critique. But yes, actors. Some of the best actors are the most unassuming. Like when you meet them in person, it's almost a little disappointing, and it's like, well, yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. And there's so many too that are, introverts, right?
Hmm.
That you wouldn't
Extremely.
expect to be
Yes.
introverts, and some are not.
Extremely.
Some are
Hmm.
like me, where I've gotta have communication with people. Like that drives me wild, which makes me think, why did you want to be alone in the closet? I
That's
didn't realize I didn't think that far ahead when I started, but now I get to do wonderful things like talk to you and to
but
everybody here every day. So
but
that's
that's the true nature of a
yeah.
stage actor right there.
hmm
Stage actors love people. I
I hate
mean,
to, we
yeah.
have to be open and honest. I love attention,
Yeah,
and I
I mean,
love
there's
I love
always
being
some
in
of that.
front of people. I felt the most at home. This is funny because some people, say they're scared about it, but I felt the most at home on stage by myself with a massive audience.
Yeah, no, not me.
That was just the most, because it was such
Mhm,
a live moment and
mm,
connection that
mhm.
there's no other place. I mean, I assume it would be like, if you're up giving speeches and you up in front of me, but just that action, because there is a moment where you have the thrill where people are kind of like watching you, and you can move an entire group of people, and it's
Mhm.
all live. There
Yeah,
is no, so anything can happen in that moment, and
yeah.
there's something to be alive if you feel alive. At least, so
Mhm.
that's I love it. I do miss it. I do miss some of it, but that's why I still do some things
Yeah,
here or there. I still
yeah.
try to be a part of the stage. But all of this said,
Yeah, I
all
know.
of this, this
We went all over today.
all
I
of this
don't know what
said,
happened,
as you
but
know, it makes think of that one saying. It said, "All right, so getting back to localization, uh, 10 hours later, all right, start. The card one, localization.
but okay, but real quick, because this is everything we just said. Now, again, I'm
Mhm.
going to go back to the Spanish language because it has so many
Yeah,
different cultural uses and origins. I love when I meet Spanish actors who are like, they understand the intricacies. They know the difference between some of the Mexican dialect and the Castilian Spanish and Colombian, and
mm-hmm.
it's an art, and
Mm-hmm.
it's glorious. It's amazing to watch, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm not saying it's expected of us. I'm not saying that that's something we all have to be skilled in, but definitely for those of you that have that sort of historical, cultural, right, passion, there's a market.
Oh
That's
yeah.
really what it comes down to. The localization is something you can attract to
Mm-hmm.
yourself and seek out from a client because they're going to appreciate those traits and those things that you know.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what we said the other day, which was we were talking about promoting, bilingual or
Mhm.
multi-language.
Mhm.
The point is promote
Mm.
not only that you're speaking a different language, but also where
Yes.
you are.
Yes.
What dialect of that are you doing? That's so I think we don't say those things enough as voice actors because we don't expect anyone's randomly looking for it.
It's true.
All
It's
right.
true.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for going on the ride with us today. We
Oh,
had.
I gotta wrap with this because this
Oh,
is so
okay.
cute.
Okay.
So Professor Tracy said, "What kind of Coke do you want?" And I'll
Mm.
tell you something. The first time I heard this answer, I about fell out of my chair. Orange.
Oh my goodness.
I went, "What?" Because in some parts of the country, it's not soda, it's just Coke. Every soda is a Coke. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it
and then around here, right? It's soda, but some people will say, I just want like a diet soda. They don't
right.
say a brand.
Yeah.
They don't say it's
Yeah.
just a
It's
soda.
yep.
They're like
So
soda pop.
orange.
My
Orange means
grandfather always used to say a pop.
yeah,
He
pop was
wanted a
yeah,
pop.
pop's another one, Midwest, that's a
Yep.
big thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I always love that. What kind of Coke do you want? Orange? Yeah.
And then
Anyway,
interesting about the history of Coke, the name Coke. This is great. It was really addicting.
it was.
It's good stuff.
It
All
was.
right, you guys, you have a wonderful Wednesday. We will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
What a silly